In Hokkaido, Japan, the Manyenji Temple maintains a high-security quarantine over a single, heavily guarded artifact. It is a traditional Japanese doll dressed in a red kimono. While the temple allows visitors to view the object, they strictly enforce a zero photography policy to protect its privacy. This security exists to manage a physical impossibility. The doll's hair continuously grows, developing split ends and texture identical to human hair. This requires the monks to perform regular, ritualistic haircuts. Recently, the monks documented a new anomaly. The doll's mouth is opening over time. Inside the porcelain gap, they can now see what appear to be human teeth growing from the gums. A century of containment has not stopped these mutations. To find the source of this biological growth, we have to look at the exact moment a funeral tradition was left incomplete. In 1918, the Suzuki family lived in extreme poverty. Aikichi, a 17-year-old laborer, spent a full month taking on extra shifts to afford a birthday gift for his younger sister. He chose a doll with jet black hair. His 4-year-old sister, Kikuko, named it Okiku and became inseparable from it, carrying the toy through every hour of her day. That bond ended suddenly when Kikuko was bitten by a mosquito. She contracted malaria and died shortly after, clutching the doll in her arms during her final moments. At the time, Japanese funerary custom required the deceased's favorite possessions to be burned alongside their body to provide closure for the spirit. However, the local temple refused to permit the doll's cremation. The parents were forced to take the unburned item back to their house, placing it on a shelf in their living room as a memorial. The toy sat on that shelf, a physical remnant of a ritual that never reached its conclusion. By keeping the object intact, the family inadvertently maintained a bridge between their grief and the physical world. The haunting began in the periphery. Eikichi heard giggling in the hallways at night, and Kikuko's old drawings would appear scattered across the floor of rooms that had been locked since her death. Then the doll itself changed. Its black hair grew from its neck down to its shoulders, losing its synthetic sheen and taking on the brownish shade and texture of real human hair. Eikichi's mother dismissed the growth as an optical illusion. She took a pair of scissors and cut the doll's hair back to its original length. That night, she dreamed of Kikuko crying in pain over the haircut, until the child's face distorted into the porcelain features of the doll. She woke up gasping for air. The doll was no longer on its shelf. It was sitting directly on her chest, looking down at her. The mother's attempt at a haircut did not stop the hair from growing. Instead, the activity in the house moved from simple sounds and misplaced objects to direct physical contact. Desperate to end the haunting, the father took the doll to a nearby field and buried it deep in the earth. The retaliation began that night. A rhythmic pounding hit the front door with enough force to shake the walls, mimicking the tremors of a localized earthquake. When the father opened the door, the doll he had buried hours before was standing upright on the threshold. As he reached for it, the doll's hair lengthened instantly. The strands coiled around his neck, tightening until his airway was completely blocked. The family struggled to pull the hair away, but the grip remained firm. It only released when Eikichi shouted his sister's name. At that sound, the hair went limp, and the doll fell back into its inanimate state. The doll responded specifically to Kikuko's name, dropping its grip and returning to its lifeless state only when her identity was invoked. Despite the violence of the attack, the family could not get rid of the object. Every attempt at disposal resulted in its return, forcing the Suzukis to live with the entity for 20 years. After decades of failed exorcisms and escalating activity, the family finally moved away. They surrendered the doll to the Manenji Temple, hoping the monks could provide the containment they couldn't. A century later, that containment continues. The monks perform their duties, ritualistically trimming the hair of an object that continues to grow, and watching as its mouth slowly widens. This leaves us with a difficult question. Is the Okiku doll a prison for a child's soul, or is it a biological manifestation of a family's grief that simply refused to be burned away?